Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Hope you're all well. You are all well and safe. And it looks like we're slowly getting our state and our area and our little town back in business. None too soon. We probably could have done this a week or 2 weeks ago, but anyway, Governor Ducey has opened up the state, is letting the EO expire on Friday. So, excuse me, we'll get things going, and we welcome that. We went and had lunch yesterday at the Longhorn Steakhouse up in Tucson on Oracle, and they had a few people in there, and it was nice to see. It was nice to see. And stand by, folks. I'm not seeing any audio. Oh, there we go. Okay, my mistake. Now I see the audio, so we're good to go. I had a lot of problems with my mic last week, and I almost had to recreate the entire interview last week, at least from the interviewer's perspective. And in the spirit of the interview, I managed to do that, but I don't want to ever have to do it again. So anyway, looks like we're going strong this week, and I do appreciate everyone for being here. We breaking news. I guess the big thing right now is we won Sean Duffy's seat back in Wisconsin yesterday. A young man, his last name is Tiffany, and good for him. Congratulations to him, and that was an important pickup. And it looks like we also won the California District 25, where the Katie Hill was forced to resign from Congress. She was a Democrat, and it looks like Mike Garcia has won that seat. And I say that because this morning he was ahead by 12 percentage points, 56 to 44. But they were still counting, so we know how that goes in California. But this afternoon, I did see a tweet that said that the gal running against him, did concede the election to him. So it looks like Mike Garcia, who used to be a naval aviator flying F-18s, and he's a new congressman from District 25 in California. So, that's great. I think District 25 is up on the high desert above Ventura County, but I'm not positive. Anyway, good for Mike Garcia, and congratulations to him. So those are two big happenings, two big pickups that you will hear the mainstream media talk nothing about. If roles were reversed and it was Democrats, they'd be talking about it nonstop. So anyway, what else is going on? Well, we had our convention over the weekend to elect the delegates to go back to the Republican National Convention. I believe it's in August in North Carolina, and we have a pretty good. It was a pretty good virtual convention. We got some people elected. I like the at-large delegates, national delegates. The list is we're pretty happy with it. Debbie Lesko's good. Tyler Boyer, who's the new national committee man, and was elected as such. He's going back. And Justin Olson, happy with him. Michael Ward, who is Kelly Ward's husband, that's good. And let's see who else is on the list. I think Debbie Lesko. Debbie Lesko's on the list. So along with, there were 27 total at-large delegates, and there are also some alternates. And congratulations to Kathleen Wishnick, who is now the acting chairman of LD2. She is an alternate CD3 delegate. So in CD2, which is our congressional district, we're sending Gail Griffin, David Gowan, and Anthony Sizer. Congratulations to Anthony. That's great. So that's the big news from over the weekend. Dr. Bob Branch will join us at about 5:15 on Zoom to talk about Arizona politics and kind of what we just went through, and the stay-at-home orders, and what's been happening with his Power of Five program, where he's working with clean elections candidates and several LDs to elect Republicans. So we want to get up to date with him about that and get some of his views on Arizona politics. So when he calls in, we'll do that. Other breaking news, I think I ran across a really interesting article that I wanted to bring up. And because I got curious, I thought to myself, well, they keep, the mainstream media is all fixated on all these coronavirus, COVID-19 deaths, and people dying, trying to scare the hell out of people, which they've managed to do with many. And by the way, while we're opening up Arizona, if you're someone that doesn't want to go out, if you don't want to go and go to a business or go to a restaurant, or you don't have to, you can still stay home and protect yourself. That's okay. But a lot of people do want to get out, so let's let them do that. We'll take the precautions necessary, and let's press on. Anyway, this article is, so I got interested. I thought, well, what is the comparison between the governors of blue states, the Democrat governors, and the governors of red states, the Republican governors? How do their states compare in death rates? Well, it turns out something very interesting, and there's an article of virus deaths in Democratic versus Republican states, and here we go. It turns out that in states with Republican governors, as of Sunday, April 26th, they've experienced 57.53 coronavirus deaths per million of population. States with Democratic governors have 179.74 deaths per million of population. Well, what does that mean? Well, what that means is that the blue states have over 3 times as many deaths as the red states. Okay, so let that sink in a little bit. I mean, that's a pretty dramatic difference. 3 times the rate of deaths in blue states run by Democratic governors as in red states run by Republican governors. Now, there were several Republican governors who did not ever issue stay-at-home orders. They left their states open, and there were 4 or 5 of them. And if you compare New York versus Florida, it's very interesting too. New York has 19-something million people, and Florida has over 21 million people. And yet, New York had many, many, many more deaths than Florida did. And so I bring that to your attention because, as a matter of fact, I can look that up real quick. Florida had, let me see here, I'm checking the Worldometer, which I go to for my numbers and sources. And if you look at New York has had 350,795 cases, and they've had 27,290 deaths. okay? So they've had 350,000 cases and 27,000 plus deaths. For Florida, 42,402 cases and only 1,829 deaths. So Florida has had, what, a 20th of what New York has had, and about a fifth, 1/5 of the cases and a 20th of the deaths. So there you go. Texas, another very big state with a lot of people, 43,502 cases, and which is about the same as Florida, and they've had 1,217 deaths. So they're even better than Florida. They've had about the same number of cases and a fewer number of deaths. So in both of those, Ron DeSantis is the governor of Florida, a Republican, and Greg Abbott is the governor of Texas, and he's a Republican. So I just wanted to point those things out to folks because to me that's a pretty dramatic difference in what we're talking about when the mainstream media keeps talking about people dying from COVID-19. So it used to be people would leave other states because of taxes. Maybe this is a new way to go. Maybe they'll leave states because of the way they're handling their state and COVID-19. And I'd like to say that something about Agenda 21. We used to talk a lot about Agenda 21, and it used to be the big thing for people, and they would want people would want to employ that in their cities and counties. And basically what that means is bringing everybody in from the suburbs, packing them in downtown, putting them in apartments, condos, townhomes, stacking them on top of each other in high rises. Well, as it turns out, that Agenda 21 is not very compatible with a pandemic. And New York is proof of that. Plus, their mass transit system had to contribute to the problems they've had. And of course, we all know that Governor Cuomo, he sent seniors or COVID-19 patients, he sent them to senior homes, and so he's actually responsible for some of those senior deaths, which is really pathetic. I think the same thing happened in Pennsylvania, and they're talking about it now, having a big investigation in Pennsylvania. So I have somebody in the waiting room, and I'll bet that's Dr. Bob. So let me go check now, and we'll see if we can't get him on. And so I'm going to admit Dr. Bob. Got something going on here. And there's Dr. Bob. And you might be muted, Dr. Bob. Can you hear me? Okay, you're muted, so let's get you off of, click on your little red microphone down in the, hey, there you go. And you're on, sir.
Fantastic. How are you tonight?
Hey, I'm good. How are you doing?
Good. Beautiful view behind you.
Yeah, that's a green screen.
That's right. That's right.
I'm not really there, but I am there, so.
Spirit.
Yeah, you know how that goes. So how have you been,
Sure.
Bob?
Life is good, buddy. How about you, and how's Patty?
Oh, Patty's doing well. She's resting in the bedroom now, watching some old YouTube things about Germany, pre-war Germany, and
Okay.
and I'm out here talking to you. So it's very good to see you. So I want to start off and ask you how you're with all the changes that have gone on the last 6 or 8 weeks, which certainly has to make a big change for you as far as the as far as campaigning goes. How is your Power of Five project doing?
Well, we are alive and well. Um, we are down to just several candidates right now. Two of them don't have a primary. One of them's down in your area in LD2.
Right,
Uh,
Deborah McEwen.
Deborah McEwen.
Right.
Deborah McEwen, will win her primary and she'll go on to the general. Um, Eric Sloan for corporate commissioner. He is. We just found out last night the Supreme Court ruled in favor of the lower court that dismissed the case that was against his signatures because the Democrats came out and they went against all the signatures in the court com race against the Republicans.
Mm-hmm.
So he won that. And
Good.
so Eric is now 100% officially on the ballot. There is no appeal to the Supreme Court ruling. And we have an LD22. We have Hawk win and running for Senate. Um, Unfortunately, it was disappointing. Of course, we had our big mega event scheduled, the Basket of Deplorables for Trump 2020 concert with Trace Atkins. That was scheduled for March 27th. That was a big event for our candidates because there were local micro events to hand out tickets to the concerts that were not able to happen. And at those micro events, candidates were going to be there for signatures and helping gather fives as well. And unfortunately, that didn't happen. The governor shut us down a couple weeks before the the mega event, and which is, I mean, Don, have you ever seen anything like that?
No.
All of a sudden, the economy is shut down. You're closed down. You can't run your own. You can't even have a concert. You can't even run your church.
Yeah.
I've never seen anything like this, nor did
No.
I anticipate. So
Yeah.
it was great.
It was really. Well, I don't want you use the word shocking, but I I'm just happy that we're getting things going again. And I think we probably could have done this 2 weeks ago, but we still have Dr. Fauci going on television scaring the hell out of everybody, and so some people are really scared, and I keep telling everybody, I say, look, if you're really scared and you want to protect yourself, you don't have to go out. You can continue to stay home, but people that want to get out, that want to go. Patty and I went to lunch yesterday at the Longhorn Steakhouse up in Tucson. So everything was fine. And boy, I got to tell you, that steak was really good.
Really good, right? And we're looking forward to that as well. I mean, Mother's Day, we picked up my son down at the university, and we went through a curbside delivery and tailgated Mother's Day dinner. But yeah, the craziness has to end. But the reality is, many great candidates were unable to get their signatures,
Yeah,
to get their name on the
yeah,
ballot.
yeah,
You figure the last 2 months of campaigning, they couldn't do. There was no gatherings, no place to get the signatures, and that's unfortunate. In my opinion, the governor and the House should have made special considerations and extended signature period gathering time,
yeah,
and they didn't.
yeah.
Um, and that caused, actually, in the Corpcom race, there was 6 Republicans that turned in their signatures, and only 3 of them survived the first challenge. Kim Owens is the only one that still doesn't have her appeal ruling yet. So we know that Marquez Peterson is on the ballot. We know that Sloan is on the ballot.
Okay.
Uh, but if Kim Owens is kicked off the ballot by the Supreme Court, because lower court ruled that she could be on the ballot by 7 signatures.
Mm,
So on appeal, all the plaintiff has to do is prove that there is an additional 7 signatures. It's 8 signatures that should be off the ballot, and she
Right.
could get kicked off the ballot. And that's all because they didn't have enough time really to gather the signatures because of this global pandemic,
Right.
which is very unfortunate. It's just been, I'm like you. I consider myself very politically astute, but we are in new waters here, Don,
Oh
and
yeah,
it's
absolutely.
incredible. I fear that we're going to lose. Of course, I really fear that we're going to be a blue state here in a few months, and that's very unfortunate.
Yeah, I have concerns about that too. And I really hope we have we have like 31-29 margin in the House. I mean, that's razor thin, right? One person. And in the Senate, boy, I wish the Senate hadn't closed down. I wish they would have kept going because there's some things that need to be done now to figure out, number one, what are they going to do with the rainy day fund and how are they going to help people in the state, but they want to stay. I'm convinced that they were convinced, and I saw some communication between the Senate leader and some other folks that it all had to do with federal money, and that if they overrode Governor Ducey's stay-at-home order, that the Fed money would stop right on the dime. So it was all about money.
All about the money.
Yeah,
And you can see that now with all the blue state governors not wanting to open up their state.
yeah,
It's
that's
all about the money.
yeah.
It's all about the Pelosi $3 trillion that she wants to give out.
So I saw,
It's
yeah,
incredible.
Pelosi. I guess Pelosi is actually related to Gavin Newsom, the governor of California.
Is that
And
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
California is in $1 trillion debt. If
Wow.
and
Wow.
and a lot of people think this is a play by Pelosi to bail him out of that $1 trillion debt. So
Wow.
she's shooting for the moon right now. But I'm hearing, according to Andy Biggs, who was on a national call yesterday with the Tea Party Patriots that we set in on. Andy said that it hasn't got a chance in hell of maybe even getting out of the House, let alone doing anything in the Senate or having the president sign it, because she's just, it's totally overboard with giving illegals money and letting them have their jobs and forgiving employers that employed illegal aliens, and there's a lot of other stuff in there too, but she's gone from A to Z.
That's whatever the wish list was she put in there. It's just incredible, But what do we do about small businesses in this state, right? So after this election cycle, we're going to be looking at a new governor, right?
Right?
In 2022.
Mm-hmm.
What do we do when our own government in this state is saying that 25 to 30% of our businesses will not reopen again?
Yeah.
I mean, is that do we look upon it as you should have planned better, or do we say, well, wait a second here, this is these are circumstances that should never have happened. Plus, I'm looking at like the PPP money, all the almost $700 billion put out there PPP money. Then they put in money for unemployment. Now the people that got the PPP money that want to bring back their people are saying, why am I going to come back at $12 an hour
Yeah.
when unemployment I'm getting about $22 an hour, and I could just stay on it now if Pelosi gets her way till the end of the year.
Yeah.
And if you don't hire back those people with your PPP money, it becomes a loan and not forgiven. Then there's businesses that got the PPP money that are not allowed to be open yet, or just starting to be open
Mm-hmm.
now, that had to hire their people back 2 weeks ago, and they're not doing anything.
Right.
And it's just like, where's the sanity? I honestly sit back at night and I say, well, I tell you, I had it so figured out 2 months ago, Don.
Yeah.
But now I'm like, I don't figure this out. I'm kind of lost here.
Yeah. I think,
And
well, like you said, we're all sailing on that same boat right now, and And it's just, it's just not what we do is we pick winners and losers and who's essential and who isn't essential. I mean, anybody that has a small business that's supporting their family and employees and everything, they believe they're as essential as anybody else. And
100%,
yeah,
100%.
sure.
And my hat's off to anybody that wants to go out and work. So what I'm going to say is not derogatory against fry cooks, but if you're a fry cook, you are an essential person. But if you're a state senator in Arizona, you're not. It's like, seriously? The House and Senate, the same thing for the United States government. For a month and a half, they hid.
Yep.
It's like, really? Is this what America is down to? Quite frankly, my hat's off to anybody that is going to survive in a small business through this.
Yeah.
Because, and I'm very staunch conservative. I think you may have gathered that over the years, Don. And when I look and, I say, if you're going to go in business, you better have a good business plan. It's got to be a solid business plan. And that business plan, you better have put contingencies in there, looked at best case scenarios, worst case scenarios, make sure that you have the money set aside. Who planned this? I mean, who could have possibly planned this?
Yeah.
So I'm fortunate. My company is very well funded, very well stocked. We're going through the 2022 election cycle. We're go look for new candidates. We're going to bring back some of the candidates that weren't successful. I'm going to be looking for gubernatorial candidates, all the executive offices for the Power of Fives. And starting here in January, I want to identify them now and through the end of the year. And starting in January, we're going to hit it hard to get these people elected. We're not going to, wait for another global pandemic to shut us down. So we're going to start here in January 1. And we're looking for good conservative candidates, again, throughout the entire state. And, we're just, moving forward because that's our goal and that's what we intend to do.
Yeah, well, we certainly salute you for that because we've got to we've got to keep our, even though we have a slim majority in the House, we've got to keep our majorities in the House and Senate, and we need to get back the office of Secretary of State and also school superintendent because they've had they're having a big negative impact on things, and proof of that is the ballot harvesting has gone to the Supreme Court because the Attorney General took it there, but the Secretary of State wasn't going to fight for that, and that's why they're pushing this all mail-in election vote because they love that ballot harvesting, right?
Sure,
Yeah.
sure. And the harvesting parties.
Yeah.
You talked about we need to retain seats and even pick up some seats. You down there in LD2, I mean, you have Mark, he's running for Senate, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you got Deborah. These are two really good people. And now as a Power 5 candidate, I'll talk about Deborah. We could get behind her. And we want to do everything we can down there, not just for her, not just for Sloan, but for all the Republicans down in that area. Right. I want to do something. So when we can have an event, I want to have an event down there. I want to bring awareness, not just to a Power of Fives event, but, working with you, maybe Green Valley, working with several other people. I want to have a large event down there to get the vote out. Because if you look at the numbers down there, you have enough Republicans registered, they just don't vote.
Yeah.
And it's just like when Deborah and I first started talking, and Stephen and I down there and Mark, we looked at the numbers, and it wasn't like is very disproportional Democrat to Republican, but it's very disproportional of who's voting.
Mm-hmm.
And if the Republicans, about 22, 23% of the Republicans are voting, if we increase that to 25 to 30%, we pick up those seats. So, whoever you're for the Senate seat, for U.S. Senate, whether it's Daniel McCarthy or whether it's McSally, we still have to generate the Republican vote down there. It can't be complacent. Um, Whoever you're for Corpcom, we got 3 Republicans now. We got to get those votes down there. We got to energize. So I'm opening this up to you and to any of the leaders down there like yourself. Whatever event we can do, and I'll fund it. I don't care, but I want to generate the vote down there for all the Republican candidates. So, bringing in a speaker, if we have a place to meet, whether it's your keg parties or whatever down there, I don't care. We got to do something down there for these people.
Yeah,
Got to get the vote out.
we have along those lines, we have talked to the American Legion down here, which holds approximately 200 folks, maybe a few more, in their big hall, American Legion Post 66. We have limited large venues down here, but we have 2 or 3. And we just don't know what they're going to be doing. We originally reserved the date of June 10th a couple of months ago, but whether they're going to be open to that on June 10th, we don't know right now. But you might just pencil that date down. That what we wanted to do is have another kegger on that date, from 5 to 7 at night, and get some people down from the northern part of the state, corporate commission candidates, other candidates, anybody that wants to come, all the county candidates, LD2 candidates, CD2 candidates, everybody, so that people can come in and meet them and talk to them, and like you said, kind of a huge party for a couple hours. But that's one thing that we've already and are working on trying to set up. It's just very dependent on the American Legion, and then.
But see, at this point in time, though, for instance, with Corpcom, normally Republican groups, LDs and stuff, there are contested primaries, right?
Right.
And everybody says, well, we can't back a candidate in a contested primary.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Deborah's isn't contested.
Right.
Eric Sloan and Marquez and Kim for Corpcom, that's not contested.
Right.
So there's no, hey, get to meet the candidate and hopefully you'll back the candidate.
Mm-hmm.
It should be, no, these are the candidates.
Right.
Let's get behind them now. Because you look, you got those 3 Corpcom. Now, full disclosure, Eric is a Power 5's candidate, but the other 2 are not. But they're all running clean elections, and they don't even have their 5s yet.
Right.
None of them.
Yeah.
So they're not even funded. So next month, when you start seeing these signs along the highway, the question is, when you don't see a Corpcom, you're going to say, well, aren't there any Republicans running? Well, sure. You guys, not you, but people just didn't give them any 5s, right?
Yeah.
So we got to generate that. We got to get off for at least those races, understand they are our candidates.
Right.
Mark, who's not a Power 5 candidate, down LD12 running for Senate, he is our candidate, right?
Mm-hmm.
He is the Republican candidate.
Right.
He's going to win the primary, but we got to get the vote out for them. Same way with Deborah down there. Now she is a Power 5 candidate. We got to get the vote out for that person, and we got to get it for all the Corpcom. They're contested anymore. So they are our candidates. So we got to start rallying, phones, whatever we got to do. We got to do it. So I'm opening up to you guys, whatever help you need from me to do it, or funds or whatever, knock on my door. I'm here to help.
Okay.
Because I want to help all Republicans down in your area.
Yeah, we'll spread the word.
Spread the word, man.
Yeah, we will. We'll let some of the other leaders down here know that the LD2 Executive Committee and Republican Club of Green Valley, Sahuarita, we'll let them all know, all their leadership, that you'd like to work with them and have some kind of event for the candidates. So that would
well,
be great.
even if let's say that your group wanted to set up a phone bank or something for calling, let's talk about it. Let's talk how we do it.
Yeah.
Whatever we need to do, and I want to do it down there. So that's a really important area. It's an important area if we're going to pick up seats. That's a very important area, and I don't want to turn blue. I mean, oh my gosh, that would be horrible.
Yeah.
So.
Well, the state candidates, they a a lot of them know, and the former corporate commission people that used to come down here, they knew that Green Valley Sahuarita was basically a conservative area, and it still is pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
There are more conservatives, and I think generally most, people argue about this, but a lot of independents, the general population of independents are conservatives too.
Sure.
Yeah,
Sure.
so anyway, it's an important area particularly for a state race. We've been, we keep poking Martha McSally to come down here and do something. But she's, so far she's just sticking to Maricopa County, and once in a while she'll show up in Tucson, but she's pretty much stayed out of this area, and she ought to be down here, she ought to be down here talking to
If
folks and meeting
if
people.
people looked at the numbers of the Republicans versus the Democrats, Republicans like McSally candidates should really be hammering your area
Yeah,
because you have the numbers.
yep,
You just don't have the people voting. We got to generate that vote. We got to get these people out voting Republican. And I want to crack that nut. And we only have a month or so to do it. And that's why I'm bringing that up.
yep,
So,
yep, you're right.
you know,
We,
and
another good point too is I saw somebody talking about particularly some of the House races and the Senate nationally. Some of the House members, there are a few Republicans running in the House that aren't entirely behind President Trump, and people know that in their district. Well, Trump people in their district, they can't make up for those people trying to draw from Democrats or independents to vote for them. If they lose the Trump people in their district, they lose. Okay, so they've got to, everybody has to, and that's one of the conditions Patty and I are putting on voting this year. If you got to support President Trump, or we are not going to, yeah,
it's all about the man.
right, we are not going to have anything to do with you. You might be 80% conservative, but if you don't support President Trump,
And
sorry.
see, when I started the Power of Fives and you all had me on,
Yeah,
one of the main reasons why is I was telling everybody that don't come to me for endorsement, don't come to me for funds, don't come for me to help you politically unless you back President Trump.
right.
And people said, well, you can't put that litmus test on us. I go, it's my money. What do you mean I can't? Of course I can. I will do it myself. And and one of the stipulations to any of our candidates for running for these offices that became Power of Five candidates, do you support President Trump? And if it's not 100%, if it's like, yes, I do, but goodbye,
Yeah,
and so that I appreciate your litmus test because that's my litmus test as well. And it's unfortunate. Uh, were you a state delegate, or are you going to be a national delegate to the convention?
no, I was a state delegate, and we just voted this past Saturday. So yeah,
Yeah.
we contributed that way by trying to get in the Trump support that we need to go back to the convention.
So I was a state delegate as well on Saturday. That the fiasco that I was wondering if we enlisted the same people that ran the Iowa caucus to run this thing here. It just took forever. But
Well,
what's that?
no, I was surprised. For us, the app worked perfectly when we voted
The app
using
worked
the app.
perfectly.
Yeah,
I mean, I had my votes in about 5 minutes after 10
yeah,
in
we
the
did
morning.
too. Same here,
But we
Bob.
didn't know that the congressional district delegates to almost 10 at night.
Hmm.
It's just
Yeah,
like, well, wait a second, the app worked perfectly. What happened all day?
yeah.
I mean,
No, a lot of people got scared of using the app and putting it on their phones, and they had to do a phone vote, and I guess that's where
yeah.
the complication was.
Now here's where I got upset at. If you looked at the vote, it said you have an option. You could either vote the official Trump slate,
Hmm.
handpicked by
Right.
the Trump campaign, or you can vote for the people down here. First of all, now Sheriff Joe Arpaio is a person you either love or hate in this state.
Mm-hmm.
Arpaio just happens to be a personal friend of mine, and I think that first of all, there's no better supporter of President Trump in this state than Joe Arpaio.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, he's a close personal friend of President Trump. When President Trump comes to town and he spends any time here, Joe Arpaio is alone with him a lot of times in a hotel room as president.
Mm-hmm.
And he is the first person to get pardoned by the president over this misdemeanor charge that he had. And he was not on that slate.
Yeah. That was
There are other people. Now, I had no illusions that Kelly Ward would put me on that slate because I'm not a fan of Kelly Ward. She's not a fan of Bob Branch. She's in charge. I'm not. So I had no illusions they'd put me on, even though that concert that I was to put on was about $500,000 out of my pocket.
Mm-hmm.
I had no, and it was a basket of deplorables for a Trump 2020 concert, free to anybody that wanted to come.
And a great
but
idea.
I had no illusions I'd be on that ballot. Not a ballot, but on that slate.
Mm-hmm.
But when I see Sheriff Joe Arpaio not on it, I was insulted. And there's some people down in your area that got to be national delegates that I don't really consider Republicans, let alone Trump supporters.
Yeah.
So I don't know what you thought about that, who got picked for at large, but I was kind of shocked, actually. So,
the at large list, and I tapped a source up in your area to help with that, and they put together a pretty nice this group that we talked to and the person leading put together a pretty good list, and wasn't anybody that was an elected official or a dignitary or anybody like that. It didn't have Governor Brewer, didn't have Doug Ducey, didn't have any of those folks on it. Just had the everyday folks that are grinding away in the grassroots, and that's pretty much, we voted that a straight slate. Now, CD2, we were pretty happy with our CD2 delegates. Gail
Good.
Griffin, Dave Gowan, and Anthony Sizer, who was our former LD2 chairman. So we're good. But yeah, some of the other CDs we're not too sure about.
Not too sure about. Well, I just, when I seen Joe Arpaio get, first of all, at the last convention, he gave a prime time address.
Right.
He represented Arizona very well. He represents us very well. And when I seen that he didn't make it as a delegate, now he is an alternate, so 9 people got to drop out, then he'll be a delegate.
Mm-hmm.
When I know, because right now I'm working with the convention because they want me to sponsor the concert. There's 2 concerts at the convention. Trace Atkins' group wants me to sponsor it, wants it to be a Power of Fives event. So we're in talks to this. And I know for a fact they want Joe Arpaio there. But to go there and not even be credentialed and speak is a huge insult. I looked at that and I said, shame on them. I couldn't believe that he wasn't. It was saddened to me. But
who do you think actually puts together that slate for Trump?
Well, not Trump.
No. I was going to say I bet 10 to 1 that he didn't write down any names.
Oh no! I guarantee you, he didn't even know what was going on.
Yeah.
I'm talking to the CEO of the convention and the CEO of special events, and they have no clue of anything that Kelly Ward does down here. Yeah. And that's unfortunate. To me, there should have been some delegates. Now, Jan Brewer is a delegate.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, okay, but not Joe Arpaio. This just isn't right.
Champion of Medicaid.
That's right.
versus Joe.
Champion of Obamacare in this state.
Yeah, I know.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah,
It was a shame, man.
and one of the
Uh,
former LD2 representatives, Chris Ackerley, jumped ship off the Republican, boat and voted and sided with Jan to pass it, and that's why we fired him down here. You know,
I
so
remember when that came to be, she called all the LD chairmen into her large conference room.
mm,
I was LD 13 chairman at the time. This is after she was on the airstrip with Obama going like this.
yeah,
And we all campaigned that year um, to not have Obamacare.
right,
And Brewer came in and said, but they're going to give us $2 billion.
right. That was the carrot.
And it isn't, but this is the type of thing that kills me. It's, we say that we're very conservative Republicans, but we take the money.
Yep.
Then we get stuck with something. So we got stuck with the expansion of Medicaid.
Hmm.
She said, "Don't worry, Bob. There's an automatic switch. When it dips below so much being funded by the federal government, it'll automatically kick off." And I told her, Governor Brewer, I go, what governor in their right mind is going to kick off 500,000 people now, because you're going to put on 450,000 to 500,000 people because of the increase to the poverty line on Medicaid expansion. You're going to do that. And you're going to kick it down the road. So there's going to be a Republican governor there that may be an election year or whatever, is going to be faced with having to kick off 500,000 people. Who would do that? Well, you had Ducey,
Hmm.
right?
Yep.
He was the one that could have had it kicked off. The vote, and with McCain talking to Ducey all day long during that, what should we do in this state? They're not going to kick off 500,000 people off of Medicaid.
That's
You
right.
see McCain go like this, and
Yep.
that's what happened.
Yeah. Yep.
So, but we did that not only with that, but with Common Core, right?
Yep.
We Republicans were in charge. We could have easily said no to Common Core. Oh, wait, they're going to give us money?
Yep.
Okay, well, maybe we will do it.
Yeah.
It's just, are you kidding me? We always take the money,
Yeah.
and we're faced with a bad government because of it. And
Bad
that's
government
unfortunate.
and unintended consequences usually.
Unintended consequences.
Yeah. Yeah.
Always. Always. Then we end up fighting each other, just like we did in the last race for superintendent of public instruction. Who's going to get rid of Common Core? When the fact is, we as the Republicans allowed Common Core to happen. And it's just like, then we fight each other on getting rid of it. It's terrible. It's a ridiculous thing.
Yeah, I get some other bad news for you too. I just was reading something this morning about, and I don't quite know how the Tucson Unified School District. I don't know if they did this in secret. They couldn't have had any public meetings because you can't have any meetings, et cetera. But they voted to put the radical sexual teaching onto their curricula.
When
So
did that happen? You're
I
talking
just
about comprehensive sexuality
yeah, just
education.
last 24 hours.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
See, and we have a team throughout the state looking for alerts
yeah.
that kind of stuff is going to happen.
Well,
We didn't get an
they
alert on that.
they're kind of hiding in the valley of COVID-19 and snuck it in, right?
Wow.
Yeah. So um, it's really unfortunate. You and I've talked about that whole thing before too. So
Comprehensive sexuality education is an obscene thing. That is the very first initiative that the socialist, uh, now our superintendent of public instruction from Portland, Oregon,
hmm
put into effect down here.
yeah,
And she got rid of the law, which opened it up to this comprehensive sexuality education. And when people have to understand that this harms children, but it only harms children, it takes parental rights away.
yep,
Your right as a parent is taken away with this. Um, that's sad. But I'll tell you what, this entire pandemic though has made me extremely upset at the education system, more so than I ever was, Don.
Yeah.
When you see that, okay, we got to close down our schools, close down education, but we got to open up our schools again because we have to provide childcare. So teachers go home, childcare stays here, teachers go home, but we're going to feed the children at school. We were just talking the other day about, well, let's add up the money, right? If you have a school that's sitting there and it's not on a daily basis being torn up by students, right? Because there's wear and tear every single day.
Sure.
So there's money saved there and all this air conditioning and stuff like that. You don't have to leave at a certain temperature, all of this. And you start thinking, well, okay, how much money is the school districts actually saving having kids at home? Then somebody was telling me down in Santa Cruz that they're using their buses to drive around the food.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I'm like, are you serious? So, but our restaurants are not allowed to be open.
Right.
It's like, where's the sense, man? Where does any of this make sense?
Yeah.
And so you have Governor Ducey walking into schools with Kathy Huffman, the socialist from Portland, Oregon,
Mm-hmm.
arm in arm, saying we have to keep these places open for childcare and to feed the children, without one discussion, without a single discussion on education.
Mm-hmm.
What are we going? I mean, what does this school year even look like for most of the students? Now, I know some schools went online. Well, as a person that has been an online instructor for almost 20 years, you cannot just take a person that teaches face to face and say, now you are online. It's a
Right.
different set of skill sets.
Yeah.
Now, is it possible? Sure, but it's not possible in 1 month, right?
Right.
So the question is, what do they do? What's the school year even going to look like? Is it going to be everybody passes? Well, with no child left behind, it's everybody passes anyhow. So what does this school year actually look like? The good news for Hoffman is there's no test this year, right? And
Yeah.
California and other states are saying, well, hey, that was a pretty good deal. Maybe we shouldn't have standardized tests ever. We didn't have them this year. So, my question is to everybody out there, what did our school year look like this year? What did our standards look like? Were our standards met? Did they have to be met? Are we graduating people that did not meet the standards? Um, and all of that we don't know because there's no discussion from Governor Ducey and there's no discussion from Kathy Hoffman on education.
Right.
Because we're taking care of the children, we're feeding the children, we are giving daycare to the children. Meanwhile, some of the daycares have closed down, and it's just like, really? It's why did that happen? So I don't know.
And one of the real frustrations for us, Bob, is the legislature, the Senate, and the House. A few people have stepped up to the plate and talked about all these things, but for the greater majority of them have just been silent. I mean, the governor says so that's it, right? And boy, I'm telling you, we are big fans of Kelly Townsend. She has really raised hell about a lot of this, and good for her because you just wish more people, and I salute the House for not shutting down last Friday and standing up and saying, hey, we're here and we're ready to go to work for the state if they need us, and I don't salute Karen Fann and the Senate for closing up, calling sign die and going home.
So what you end up happening, and this is, and this is where this past session is when the laws were supposed to be voted in and put forward to stop comprehensive sexuality education.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't accomplish it. And now you're telling me Tucson took advantage of that. Meanwhile, our Senate left and there's nothing that can be done.
Right. And
So
a lot
you
of those
have,
bills are laying on the table.
wow, you made my day, Don.
Sorry. Yeah,
That's right.
I
You know,
we pushed all session for a couple of things. One of the things we wanted was, in as far as elections goes, we want all of the ballots in Arizona to be sequentially numbered, so that you know how many ballots are in an election, and you know what happened to it. And if you had to have a recount, you could do that, because if the ballots aren't numbered, and I'm talking electronic or physical ballots, I don't care, then you can't really have a recount. You can't account for what
difficult to
happened.
audit.
Yeah,
You can't audit it.
yeah, you can't
That's right.
audit it. So, and the other thing is that one of the things that this doctor down in Dr. Sheila Brantley down in Texas, she pushes election and integrity down there, and election fraud, fighting election fraud, and she says, we invest a lot of money in these candidates. And as a candidate, she ran for the Austin City Council, and all of her data said she was going to win, and she ended up losing. And so she took it to court, and eventually she won in the Texas Supreme Court, and they threw the election out. Unfortunately, the term was already over, so she couldn't be on the city council anyway. But she proved a point and set a precedent, and her point is that candidates are the only ones that have standing in an election if they want to take it to court. You as a voter, you can't sue anybody, you can't do anything if somebody loses and there was some hanky-panky. The candidate,
Sure.
so candidates have to be able to stand up for themselves. And if they were wronged, if there was something went on, and she's a statistician, so she went through all the numbers and proved to the Texas Supreme Court that she should have won the vote, that something happened. And there were several mitigating factors. But so we want to see candidates, tell us you're going to fight. If if it's a close race and you lose by a few votes. I watched the two races last night that yesterday, Wisconsin's taking over Sean Duffy's seat. The guy named Tiffany won that race, and big. And then the California 25, which was this Katie Hill, who was a disaster and had to resign. And you know what she did. The candidate Mark Garcia was an ex-naval aviator, flew F-18s not very long ago, and he. Last night he was ahead by 12 percentage points. This morning he was ahead by 12 percentage points, 80-something thousand to a low 60-something thousand votes. And finally this afternoon, after saying she wasn't going to concede, the Democrat conceded the race this morning, because she would have had to get 97% of the remaining votes
Sure.
to win, right? So if you have enough of a margin, even the Democrats can't cheat their way through it. But anyway, those are two
Well,
big
one thing that I'd
races.
like to encourage you on, because you did say something, and because I agree with you, candidates should be able to fight and want to fight for it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But that's a huge expense, man.
Oh, yeah, I know.
And
Yeah, yeah.
so don't look at it upon just the candidate doing it. Is this your dog in the hunt? If
Yeah,
it is, help raise some money for that. And
exactly.
I'll give an example. In my race, I lost by 249 votes
Mm-hmm.
in Maricopa County, and all the shenanigans that happened in 2018's
Oh, yeah,
primary.
yeah.
Well, when we went down there and talked to Maricopa County and talked to the lawyers, I was told that since I'm a state race, I can't just go after Maricopa County. And that's where the shenanigans were.
Mm-hmm.
I have to actually go after all of the counties, 15 counties in
Mm-hmm.
this state.
Right.
Well, I won 11 of them. So why am I going to sue those 11? And each one costs money. You just
Yeah.
can't, you just
Oh,
can't
yeah,
go after
yeah,
and say recount. You're paying for this,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And, I went to my attorneys and we sat down and talked, and it was like, okay, it's going to be $500,000 for the first 20 days.
Mm-hmm.
$500,000. So some people are saying, Bob, you should fight this. Well, good. You're writing a check. Let's write a check. And actually, I did have somebody from Scottsdale because this is outside of campaign contributions. This is
Yeah,
actual legal fees and stuff like this.
right.
So there is no limit. So you could come up, you're a mega donor, and you'd come up and say, well, I'll do it. And she actually said she'd pay for it.
Mm.
And I told her, I said, listen, I want to hear from these lawyers. What is the percentage chance that we're going to win and do this? And he says about 50-50. I said, I'm not going to let you do that. If you wanted to spend your money, we should have had fundraisers before so that we avoided the 250 and won by 2,000, right?
Yeah,
So if you're going to ask the candidate to fight, be prepared to be writing some checks and, getting your, and this is, and this is something that we can do as grassroots, right? Because there's lawyers in our grassroots.
yeah,
Do we have any lawyers that will take this on? Help us out.
yeah,
And this has to be, you can't be the only dog in the fight. And I see a campaign sometimes like the fight after school where everybody circles around and you got two people duking it out. You got your half saying, "Come on, Don, hit him hard," and the other half is saying, and you're like, "Well, wait a second, I'm all by myself in this thing, right?" Well, that's the way a campaign is too. And it's like, well, come on, Don, we want you to fight, this lawsuit. Well, okay, be prepared to help Dawn out. And that's what I would strongly suggest to those groups that want candidates to fight it out.
yeah.
And the reason why I'm saying that, Sloan just went through 2 weeks of being challenged on his lawsuit for his signatures. The judge threw it out, said there is no case there. APS, who was funding all of these Democrats that go against the Republican candidates, appealed that. It was thrown out. They appealed it to the Supreme Court. Well, Eric doesn't get to go to the Supreme Court for free,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
This is all cost money. And the whole point is a frivolous lawsuit. They knew he had more signatures than he needed. It's designed to take his money away out of the campaign.
Of course.
So that's why I'm asking you guys to tell everybody that you have 3 corp comp candidates. None of them are funded. We need to get the $5 contributions flowing in for these guys because the Democrats just took a substantial amount of money away from them because of these silly lawsuits. So,
Yeah.
we got to do that. So.
Yeah. Well, we'll get. I know we've put some stuff on the Green Valley Club website about clean elections and pointed out candidates and sent out emails to, which candidates are running clean elections and et cetera, et cetera. So we're trying.
Well, they
to
all got
out.
their $1,200 checks from President Trump.
Yeah, there you go.
Take $15 from that and fund these people.
Yeah, there you go.
So let's use some of that money to fund and get some government in there. But I can only speak for Eric Sloan. I think it'd be a great person sitting on that board. And I hope that, if a person's going to give him 5, they'll give the other 2 5s as well.
Yeah.
Get these people funded, get them out there, let our candidates have a good chance to win.
Hey, Bob, listen, it was great talking to you tonight. I really appreciate you coming on. And
I'm supporting my COVID-19 mullet right now.
Yeah, I see.
Can't wait till my barber shop opens up. But
I see. I just went to mine Monday.
I was going to say, man, you look really high and tight there. It looks good.
I went Monday and waited 6 or 8 weeks and made an appointment.
Well, I'll tell you what, I can't wait.
I know.
This is getting a little long back there.
So. I understand. I hate that back there. So on me.
Take care, buddy.
Thanks, Bob. I really appreciate it. And
we'll be Patty, my love. You guys take care.
You too. You God bless you, and we'll be in touch with you about this event thing.
Hey, I'm here. Look me up, buddy. Take care, Don.
Take care. Thanks again.
Thank you for having me.
Yes,
all
sir.
Right.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that was Dr. Bob Brands. That was a good conversation. Really appreciate Bob coming on and talking to us. And we we always enjoy that, and hope you folks enjoyed it too. So remember, tomorrow night we're going to have Dr. Lee Valide on. We're going to be talking COVID-19 from a doctor's perspective and some of the things that are going on, and her opinion. She's got some very strong opinions, and she'll share those with you tomorrow night. I sent out a couple of links to some of the op-eds that she's published the last few weeks. So join us tomorrow night at 5 o'clock sharp for Dr. Lee Valide. And thanks again for joining us tonight. You all take care, and we'll see you tomorrow night. Good night.